How you doing?
Afternoon.
Happy Friday.
What are we talking about today?
Well, a lot actually. Okay. So, new city employee vaccination rules were put out last night from you guys. What will happen to employees and staff that don't abide by kind of the vaccination policies?
So we've adopted the same rules as the region appeal in the city of Mississauga to make it consistent within the region appeal. Toronto has said that if you're not vaccinated, you will be terminated. But here in Peel, we have said that as an alternative to termination would be regular testing. And
Okay.
so that is, we believe, a lot of this legally is still being determined. There could be, we're going to find out quickly because we expect the Toronto law to be challenged, and we'll get a good indication soon of what is permissible in terms of requirements of employees, because this really gets into some new waters for labor law.
True. And there's a education portion of it too, correct?
Yeah, so we're asking employees who don't want to get vaccinated to take a course so they understand the value of vaccinations, to understand that some of the myths you read on the internet are not necessarily accurate. And, Kelly, let me explain it to you, and I explain to people that I talk to, why are you encouraging people to get vaccinated? Go to the hospital and ask who, and I get this weekly report, who's in the emergency department, who's got COVID in the hospital, who's got COVID in ICU, and it is disproportionately, almost entirely people that are unvaccinated. We actually did a report and did a study on May and June in Peel, and it was 101 out of 103 people hospitalized were unvaccinated. And we're going to be continuing to produce that data, and it will show that the best way to protect yourself, your family, your community, your neighborhood is to get vaccinated. And the people that are getting sick are the ones who are unvaccinated or partially vaccinated.
True. You obviously know the vaccine certificate rules are in effect now. Have you been out and about, and have you had to show your receipt?
Yes, I went and played hockey the other day, and on the way in, they asked to show my vaccine certificate. I had it ready. So yeah, I've seen it enforced, and obviously it's giving people confidence that the spaces they go are safer environments.
Cool. And now, in regards to enforcement, who do people call? What does a restaurant do if they get into trouble? I've seen, unfortunately, videos where cops are arresting people at Tim Hortons and stuff. I mean, I'm sure that's a very small case, but what do people do?
So the provincial government said initially to call 911. And the police have said they're not going to be enforcing this. I know the Peel Police spoke to the chief. He says he's not enforcing it. It's not something that they have the resources to do. They're not going to take people off a gun and gang or domestic assault case to attend to a vaccine certificate issue. So now the implication is that it'll be local bylaw. The bylaw don't have the resources for this either. And so I actually asked the provincial government this week, I said, I want to have a plan. What's the plan? You can't simply say in a press conference, call your local police or bylaw and have no plan of how it's going to be enforced. And so there is an enforcement problem now. The provincial government has downloaded that responsibility to municipalities, and it would be naive to suggest there are police officers or bylaw officers twiddling their thumbs with nothing to do. It means removing them from the important work they're doing. And right now, both bylaw and police are over 100. They have more calls than they have officers to respond to. So let me give you an example of the Peel Police. They have to prioritize and tier police calls because there's a lack of officers. And so if you call the police today for a small burglary or a car theft, they'll probably say just call your insurance because they don't have the officers available. They're working on other more serious criminal issues. And so, I support the police saying they don't have the resources for this, and if the province wants it enforced, they need to allocate resources.
I saw you on the presser, and you did say, kind of, show me the money. This is costing the municipalities a lot more. Have you heard from them in regards to that?
So what we're hearing from the province is they're expecting to get funding from the federal government on this, because Justin Trudeau promised during the federal election $1 billion for vaccine certificates. but that hasn't materialized yet. And so I think they're waiting on the federal government. But here we are. This has been introduced, and there's been no money allocated, no resources, no plan when it comes to enforcement. How does that, I just thought, given the great minds working on this, that more thought would have gone into how it's actually going to be enforced.
Did you say great minds? Okay. I was just kidding. In regards to, so I went into a mall. You don't need the vaccine passport to get into a mall, right? You don't need a vaccine passport to get into a store, but you need a vaccine passport or the receipt to get into the food court. In regards to the confusion, in regards to city facilities, what do you need the certificate for, and what don't you need the certificate for?
So you need the certificate to enter city facilities. That was part of the provincial mandate.
Okay, including the library?
I believe the library is exempt, and to pay your tax bills, like to pay your bills, are exempt.
Okay.
And one of the reasons that the library was exempt is they offer daycare services, and so daycare services are considered to be an essential service, and so they've exempted grocery stores, doctors' offices.
Okay. In your opinion, how long do you think this vaccine passport will be around for? You think it'll be 3-6 months until we hit that 90% threshold?
The premier said he wants it to be as temporary as possible, but that 90% figure is of total population. And right now, we are at 78, 79% fully vaccinated for those over 12. And then you look at total population, which is the 0 to 12 population, and our vax figures are much lower. So it's not even approved yet for the total population. And so having a guesstimate when we're going to get to 90% of the total population, when the total population isn't vaccinated, it would be at best a guessing game.
We had an article come out that a Brampton City Councillor was against the motion to ban protests at hospitals. Gurpreet Dillon, what are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I was befuddled by his comments at Regional Council. I don't believe it's appropriate to have protest in front of a hospital. Frankly, I find it offensive. Here you are, individuals going to see loved ones, sick loved ones, and they have to deal with a protest to get to the door. That in itself is offensive. And then I think of these unsung pandemic heroes, the healthcare workers who have put themselves in harm's way during this pandemic, got sick in greater numbers because they were facing the virus within their community, and they're being protested. Give your head a scratch. It shouldn't be allowed, and I can't understand why any elected official would try to justify it.
Did you hope that in Ontario we're going to adopt the Quebec rule that just came out today?
Absolutely.
Yeah? Okay. Case counts are going up in Brampton schools, Peel schools in general. Do you think the schools will close again?
That's not what I'm hearing from Dr. Lowe. Dr. Lowe seems to be confident that our schools can remain open, and as long as public health believes it's a safe environment, then I trust their advice. What they really said is it's the levels of community transmission that will dictate whether it gets into the schools. And right now, community transmission is relatively low because of the vaccination rates. We just need to keep it. We just need to keep it low.
Okay. 2 nights ago, we had a very violent night in Peel. There was a shooting in Brampton. There was a shooting in Mississauga. 2 deaths. What can Brampton or what can Peel police do to combat this violence that we're having in Peel?
So we are, we've added new police officers to help with the gun and gang crime. We've added CCTV cameras where some of the targeted shooting was happening. We got a great chief of police, Chief Nishan, who takes this very seriously. But there are some structural problems in the justice system. And what you'll find is that you have some of the same individuals committing the same offenses. Bail reform. We desperately need bail reform in Canada. We've had cases where, in one instance, someone was released from bail 5 times before committing a murder, and that was in the Henderson Bellman tragedy. How is someone released 5 times? We need to do a better job at handling repeat offenders, and I believe there's a weakness in the justice system that really creates a revolving door for some of the same people who are responsible for the same volume of activity. And so one thing we could do in Brampton is continue to advocate for changes to the federal justice system.
And I'm going to completely switch gears here. You know, this is a line of questioning that I haven't asked you yet. Do you speak French?
Je parle français. Est-ce que tu parles français? Aujourd'hui est la journée pour le Franco-Ontarien et nous levons le drapeau Franco-Ontarien aujourd'hui à notre hôtel de ville. So what I was saying in French is, it's funny you asked that because today is the celebration of the Francophone Ontario community in Brampton. And literally just before this interview, I was raising the Francophone Ontario, the Franco-Ontario flag at our City Hall, which is flying proudly. We've got the Franco-Ontario mask too.
Nice. Okay, cool. I wasn't going to ask about that, but I was going to ask you, if the federal Conservatives came up to you and said, hey, would you like to run for leadership of the federal Conservatives, would you be open for that?
I am very happy serving in Brampton, and that is my focus. I'm happy to be outside of partisan politics, and my wife enjoys me being home every night. So I have chosen not to get engaged in partisan politics right now, and I'm very much enjoying the environment that I'm in the beautiful city of Brampton.
Okay. I just heard your name getting thrown around, so I had to ask. And I've asked this to all the mayors so far. Municipal elections 1 year away. Are you going to run for mayor again for Brampton?
Yeah, I'm enjoying serving in Brampton, and you know, it's a year away, but you know, I'm loving public service at a municipal level, so I don't envision that changing in the next year.
Okay. And last question for me. When am I going to get the invite for hockey?
You're always welcome. If you want to come and play hockey, I play shinny a few times a week.
Well, just give me the invite and I'll be there.
Okay.
All right.
But you have to have your vaccine certificate to play. I hope you have it.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, I got it done the first day. All right.
Okay, thank you.
Bye.